Mensuration lecture number 3. We'll be covering down square, rectangle, cube, cuboid, and cone. So let's just start off with the square. Square is a 2D shape. Square is a 2D shape. So what are the properties of square? Number one, all the sides are equal. All the sides are equal. So that means if I want to find out the area, so it should be L square. To find out the area, it should be L square. And the other thing that we can find out is the perimeter. Now, perimeter is the total sum of all the sides, or I can directly say the length. So, length will be 4L. That means adding up all the sides of the square will give me the perimeter. So, area is what? L square. Perimeter will be what? 4L. Similarly, knowing the fact that cone, uh, knowing the fact that your cube is the family member of square. Your cube is the family member of square. Now, cube is basically a 3D shape. Since it is the family member of square, so what we need to understand is that all the sides, all the sides of cube will be same. All the sides of the cube will be same, which means that if this is 6, then automatically all the sides will be 6. Because all the sides are what? Equal. Because it is the family member of what? Square. Now, considering since it is the family member of square, so what we need to understand is that in 3D shapes, you will be asked two things. Number one is the volume. One is the volume, and volume is the base area into height. Volume is the base area into height. So if you see there is a base which is of square. There is a base which is of square. So the area of the square is L square. Your area of the square is what? L square. And the height itself is basically the length. Because the length, all the length are equal, right? So the height itself is also what? L. So that means L square, base area is L square multiplied by L will be L cube. L square multiplied by L will be what? L cube. So can we just say your volume is basically base area into height. And at the moment, what you need to understand, your base area is a square. So that means square of what? The area will be L square multiplied by the height, which will be L. So that means your volume will be calculated through L cube. Similarly, if you understand that we need to find out the surface area, we need to find out the surface area. If we need to find out the surface area, what we need to understand is what is surface area? Surface area is area of all the shape in the figure. So if it is all the area of all the shape in the figure, how many squares do we have in cube? The same type of squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we have 6 same type of squares that will make up what? That will make up cube. So if we find out the area of one particular side, so that means then we multiply by 6. So this will give me the area of the entire cube. This will give me the area of the entire cube. So what does this mean? This clearly means that we have L square. L square is the area of what? One side of what? Cube. But we multiply by 6 because we have 6 exact sides which are made up of what? Squares. Which are made up of what? square. So what is the surface area? Surface area is the area of all the shapes in the figure. So the cube has six sides. Cube is a six-sided figure, and all the sides are particularly made up of what? Square. So the area of the square is L square. And how many sides do we have? We have six. So it should be 6L square in total, and that will be your surface area. Now let's just work upon your rectangle. So rectangle is a 2D figure. Rectangle is a 2D figure which has a length and breadth. So in rectangle, it's length and the breadth. So what we need to understand is the area formula of the area. So the area formula will be L into B, length into the breadth. So when we need to find out the area of the rectangle, it will always be what? L into B. The other thing that the examiner will ask us is the perimeter of the rectangle. Perimeter of rectangle. Now remember, rectangle is a 2D shape, so you can't have the volume or the surface area. You'll be finding out down the area or the perimeter. You'll be finding out the area and the perimeter. So what is the answer for the perimeter? Perimeter means adding up all the sides. So you have two exact same side of the length and two exact same side of the breadth. So add length and breadth and multiply by 2. Add length and breadth and multiply by 2, or add two lengths, add two breadths and add them up. So perimeter is basically adding up all the sides, right? So if this is 16, this should be 16. If this is 12, this is 12. So 16 and 16 becomes 32, and 12 and 12 becomes what? 24. So 32 becomes plus 24 will give me the perimeter. Or 2L into B. 2L into B. You have 16. This was 16, this is 12. So 16 plus 12 multiply by 2. 16 plus 12 multiply by 2. So what will be the formula of this? The formula will be 2L plus B. 2L plus B. That means you are adding up the length and the breadth and then you are multiplying by 2. Or 2L plus 2B. 2L plus 2B, because when we multiply 2 into L becomes 2L, and 2 multiplied by B will become what? 2B. Now, you need to understand that rectangle is what? Rectangle is a 2D figure. Now we have a cuboid as well. Now, cuboid is the family member of what? Rectangle. Cuboid is the family member of what? Rectangle. So you need to understand this. So if I want to make a rectangle, so the difference between cube and rectangle is that cube has all the same sides, but rectangle has two sides which are same, whereas two sides which are different. Now similarly, what you need to understand is, now this becomes your cuboid. Now this cuboid has a length, a breadth and the height. So this becomes a 3D figure. This becomes a 3D figure. So if I want to go beyond the concept of just a shape, what we need to understand is that in 3D figure, there will be, the examiner will ask me about the volume, and the formula of the volume is base area into height. Your formula of the volume is base area into height. So knowing the fact that this is a rectangle, so rectangle base area is L and B. Length multiply by what? Breadth, because area of the rectangle will be length multiplied by breadth, and the height is itself is given. So the total formula will be LB base area multiplied by what? Height. So if you remember that the volume formula of cuboid is L into B into H. Your formula of the volume is L into B into H. Similarly, what you need to understand is the surface area. Because now it's the 3D figure, and 3D figure has a surface area as well. So total surface area of cuboid. Now, what is the surface area? Surface area is basically when you add up all the areas of the shape that is there in the figure. That means what do we have in this shape? If you just look at this, we have a front rectangle, we have a back rectangle, we have a rectangle on right, we have rectangle on left, we have rectangle at the bottom and rectangle at the top. Now, the most important thing is that all the sides are different. This is your length, this becomes your breadth, and this becomes your edge. Because when you are talking about rectangle, that means rectangle length and breadth will be different, because or else it will become a square. So length and breadth will be different. So is the height. There might be a possibility that height might be same with some of the length or some of the breadth. But again, you need to understand that every other shape will have a different area to sum up to become what? Total surface area. Sum up to become what? Total surface area. So what does it mean? It means that if I want to find out the area of front and back, or let's say, let's not talk about front and back, let's talk about the base and the top. So if this is L, can we say this is L as well? And if this is breadth, so this line will be breadth as well. So whatever the area will be of the bottom will be the same area of the top. Will be the same area of the top. So if we just multiply, so this should be 2L multiplied by B. This will be 2L multiplied by B, because length and breadth will give me the area of the bottom. When I multiply by 2, it will give me the sum of the area of bottom and the top. Similarly, this area will be different. This area will be different. Or let's just say the front area will be different than the right area. But the same areas will be front and the back. And this will be through what? The front area will be calculated through what? L and H. It will be calculated through what? L and H, which will be 2 plus 2 L and H. And the last side that we have is right and left. The last side that we have is right and left. So this should be 2B into H. So this will be the total surface area of what? Cuboid, where you understand that, okay, we have a front side which will give me LH, back side which is LH. So this is 2 into LH. We have right and we have left. Right area is BH. When we multiply by 2, we get the answer for left as well. And then we have length and breadth. This is the bottom. And when I multiply by 2, I get the top as well. So that means when I'm adding all the area, that means I'm calculating what? Total surface area of the cuboid. Now let's just work on the figure that is called cone. Now what does this cone has? The cone will be given with the help of what? Radius. And it will be given as what? Height. Now this line will be a slant height. Just slant length or slant height. When you meet your rectangle, horizontal line and the vertical line, it will create a right angle triangle. So inside the cone, there's always a right angle triangle. So that particularly means that this becomes opposite to 90 degree. So this is your hypotenuse. This becomes perpendicular and adjacent or base. Or this becomes perpendicular, this becomes base. So whenever you have cone, first thing what you need to understand is that when you need to find out the slant, length or slant height, so what you need to do is you need to use Pythagoras theorem of having what? R square plus H square. That means this should be used for hypotenuse square is equal to what? Under root base square plus what? Perpendicular square. Now, when we are using the under root, we take off this square. So this becomes your Pythagoras theorem. So there are a lot of questions where the examiner will directly ask you what is your slant length. What is your slant length? So similarly, now this is your cone. Why was this important to find out the slant length is because of the curved surface area of the cone. Because of the curved surface area of the cone. But before moving to curved surface area, we will be finding out the volume. We'll be finding out the volume. Your volume formula is base area into height. It is still not changed. It is still not changed. But now what you need to understand is that this particular cone, if I draw up like this, so if you see that this creates a cylinder and your cone is basically 1/3 of the cylinder. Your cone is basically what? 1/3 of the cylinder. So when cone is 1/3 of the cylinder, so what we do is we make sure that we multiply your base area into height with 1/3. So whenever you have an incline of such things, we use what? 1/3. We use 1/3 so that your incline thing is taken into consideration. Now, if you just look at this, this is how many sides do we have? We have 1, 2, and 3. In total, we have 3 sides. So all the sides have ratio of what? 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3. So that is the reason if we have cylinder, the volume of the cylinder is volume pi r square into h. Now, in this case, base area is still pi r square and your height is still height. The only difference is this 1/3 because this is 1/3 of what? Your cylinder. So that is the reason we use what? 1/3 into base area into height because your cone is the 1/3 of the cylinder. So now just moving on to write down the formula. Your formula will be 1/3 pi r square h. This should be 1/3 pi r square h. Then what we need to understand is the curved surface area. Now what is curved surface area? Is the boundary of the shape. Now if it is a cone, so the cone boundary is the curved surface area. Let me just draw it right here. If this is a cone, so what is the boundary? This entire thing is the boundary, right? Because the cone has gap in between, but it has a cone shape that will be obviously your curved surface area. But that cone is basically made up of the slant length. That cone is made up of what? Slant length. So what we do is your curved surface area is what? Pi r L. Your curved surface area is what? Pi r L. Your r is the radius, whereas this L is the slant length. Your L will be what? Slant length. Here the height will be the actual height. The height will be the actual height. But when we are talking about the slant height, this is your height, this is radius, this is height, and this is your L. So when we are talking about curved surface area, we use what? Pi r L. And in the L, we use what? Slant length. Whereas in the volume, we use the height only. And height is normally given in the question. So the formula of the curved surface area is pi r L. Now let's just work upon the total surface area of cone. So what you need to understand is that what shapes do the cone has, because surface area is the area of all the shapes. So the shape will be, this particular thing will be your circle. This particular thing will be your circle. So this is what pi r square. But obviously the shape of the cone is through the curved surface area. Through the curved surface area. So curved surface area formula is pi r L. So the formula of the total surface area will become what? Pi r square for the circle in the top plus pi r L plus pi r L. Pi r square for the circle that is given at the top, and pi r L for particularly the curved surface area of the given cone.